To order, call 1-800-522-1322. Visa and MasterCard accepted.
I had an uncle who lived a field across from my house. And I remember him playing music and playing the fiddle. And I remember my aunt singing, just these old songs and things like that. I mean, I didn't know it was Cajun music. We never called it that till later. It was just French music and just old songs. The songs are so roadworthy. I mean, most of these songs, these melodies have been around for hundreds of years. They have survived. The songs have survived. So they survived because of a reason. When I was a senior in '69, there was a lot going on. And I think for us, it was like, that was our ways of being rebels or revolutionaries, is to do something that wasn't cool at that time, that wasn't American at that time, but it was like, revolutionary in the way that, why are you doing this? Why you want to play old people music? And that's what it was called. But just because of that, that's why we did it.
When I hear music that's, that really is well done and has a lot of character and a lot of soul and just a lot of wonderful vibes that I pick up from it, I just can't, I laugh. I just laugh and that's how much it moves me, I don't have any recollection of the first time I heard it, because I'm sure I probably heard the music in the womb, because my father, even though his father was a fiddler and his brother was a fiddler, my father didn't ever learn how to play anything. But if there was ever anyone who was a music addict, it was my father. He would just go completely flipped out when he would hear Cajun music, preferably the accordion. So my father ordered me an accordion on Sears Roebuck, $27.50. And the day it came in was this opening day of dove season. Then my father said, "You want to come dove hunting with me?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm going to play with my accordion." My father went in the back, did his hunting, came back, and he hears music coming from the front bedroom. So my father comes into the front bedroom where I was sitting out with my little accordion, and his eyes, got the size of a 50-cent piece, when he saw it was me playing. Well, from that point on, our relationship, just changed dramatically. It was no longer this little son of his who couldn't do anything right. It was, "Hey, folks, come see my son, come listen to him play the accordion." Just to see his expression, that moment, was enough to make me want to pursue this for the rest of my life.
Good job, guys. Good job.
I'm a pretty simple person in some ways. Like, I think the way I hear things might be pretty primitive. I like primitive music. And Cajun music has that primitive rhythm I hear. And the simplicity of the words, I hear that too. I like love songs a lot. There are a lot of them in Cajun music, but, I have to find them. And I like songs that have a tone to them that express brokenheartedness. When I was 10 years old, I had this plastic TV Pal baritone ukulele, and my father was really into Dixieland jazz, so he wanted us to be musicians, so he brought this guitar. It must have cost him $2. "Here, girls, learn how to play this." And I played that thing so fast. I picked it up and I could retune it into open tunings, bar chords, finger picking, everything on this little plastic TV Pal baritone ukulele.
When I first got my fiddle, you said you got to bring it to Lionel's. So I brought it to Lionel's. Of course, this is a whole day thing. And he was talking about this young guy in Eunice who was doing accordions, you know. This was like the early 70s. You know, so Mark was a young guy. You know, we were young too. Mark was a young guy. And so you had to meet this guy because, you know, it's another young, when somebody says it's a young person, wow, you know, let's go do it. So to go to Mark's store, it's great because you go in there and immediately he speaks to you in French, you know, which was sort of unusual with young people in those days, to have in a store to start with French. So once you got beyond the French thing, you know, that he could understand, well, okay, you're all right, you're from here, you know, you're not from somewhere else. Then it became fun. It became really good friends after that.
I remember very well the first day that Mike Doucet walked into Savoie Music Center, you know. I remember him very well, that this young kid would want to pursue Cajun music, you know, because he didn't look the type, you know. He was seemed well educated, and he didn't look like the normal person who would be pursuing Cajun music. You know, he was cool, he was with it. So it stayed on my mind, you know.
Pour aller chercher ma bébé. Elle est là-bas, aussi loin dans les grands bois malheureux. Au bébé, après jongler tout en ato. Oh, yeah!
Dennis McGee and I were great friends. I mean, he was like a grandfather figure to me. I spent a lot of time with him. I loved him. I did a lot of taping, a lot of learning, and a lot of coffee drinking. And when I first met Dennis and started going to his house and learning his music, I had to relearn Cajun music. What I was missing was that stuff that hit my heart really deep, was that old French stuff. So that's what I understood through Dennis's music.
One of the people that I really, I guess, copied a lot of his style his name was Théoval. They'd call him Baudet. Fruget. Another man that lived in the neighborhood was Ayram Courville, Aladin Thibaudot. Those were curtain players. But they were not musicians. They were farmers, you know, and laborers who, like I said earlier, you know, played accordion, but they were almost like insulted if you call them musicians. And they had fingers about this big, you know, but put an accordion in their hand and you'd hear this most fantastic style and beautiful music.
Pour aller chercher ma bébé. Elle est cachée, où est là-bas, où est longtemps, où est passée. Tous les soirs, j'avais guetté l'étoile tombée. Mais j'ai joli, écoute-moi bien, souviens-moi et l'amour. J'ai bébé, mon balai pour échapper.
I don't want to be like anybody else. I mean, I would, you know, Dennis was his person, and there's nobody that ever be like this. The thing that he gave to me, the things that I saw from him, was a manner of doing things, and a manner of getting a certain response, and a manner of playing. And I think that's what the thing he taught me. It's not to be exactly, not to be a carbon copy or anything like that, but to be your own self and incorporate this kind of music, or this kind of style in your music.
I just said, well, if ever I can learn how to play this stuff, you know, when I've watched these old men perform and this charismatic personality of theirs and how it was just so real and it was not nothing pretentious about it. I said, whenever I get old, if I can learn how to play like this, you know, and if I can go play some house dances in somebody's kitchen, I want to emulate these old guys. I want to try to be like them. When when people ask me what kind of music you play, I said the kind of music I play is, in case of a power failure, I continue playing. I don't want to be dependent on all this stuff. I just want to pick up my instrument and play.
I thought Wolf Trap was the ultimate experience in music. We would go up there every year, and that was my education.
And then it wasn't until, I think, Koto played the National Folk Festival in Wolf Trap, Virginia, 1976. And Koto and Beausoleil were playing. At that time, it was Beausoleil would come out with an acoustic set, and Koto would follow us and do the electric set.
It was real funny because, you know, we were all into this real strict traditional thing, and I just couldn't decide if I was going to go listen to the progressive Cajun group, and everybody kept saying, "You got to see this young guy on the fiddle. He's just a genius."
So we're here talking to the board, Joe Wilson or somebody, or Andy Wallace, who was actually running this festival. It was the last festival. We talked to him, and all of a sudden we hear his voice. "Oh, they're Cajun, you see, So here comes Mark Savoy, So, Mark, what you doing here? So we started talking, and we had a good time. So, Mark, we have to play. "Oh, yes, let's go play now." So, I mean, he was right in the middle, like about 10 o'clock in the morning. So he says, "Come on, let's bring your fiddle, So the festival has all these things you got to do. We didn't know where we were, So we just followed Mark. I figured he knew what to do. And so he just found the place right in the middle of some path and said, "Come on, let's play." So we played. And I think it was at that time that this young girl by the name of Ann Allen wandered up and heard this music where it wasn't supposed to be, right? Because that time you'd have to play in your little designated spots. Well, not us. I mean, we have to play right in the middle of stuff.
I was walking around, and they were having a jam session under the trees, and I thought, with Sterling Richard and Mike and Mark, and I wonder if Dewey was doing. Dewey might have been playing too. I think they were all jamming. And so my Cajun friend said, "Ann, I want you to meet Mark Savoy." And the minute we met each other, we hit it off.
Ce matin, je vais trouver assis sur mon lit, après pleurer avec un cœur aussi cassé. Parce que le bébé a mes yeux noirs, elle est partie, je vais jamais vous la voir.
So I went to a folk festival once, and I met Anne, and she didn't have any kind of airs about herself. She was very natural, and she was into music, and she seemed to be interested in Cajun music, and that was unusual, you know, for a girl of her age and her background to be interested in Cajun music. You know, I was impressed by that, you know.
And I think that's where, you know, Ann and Mark just fit so nicely because, I mean, they both love the old songs, but what they're doing exactly is creating something new and fresh again in how they approach it.
Mark, when I met him, was totally crazy. When I first came down here, we went to all the radio shows where the Balfour Brothers had a radio show at Moosh's Lounge, and he would just go up there and tear up songs on the accordion with anybody and just, you know, he was just wild.
Après-midi, je suis assis sur la galerie, après gaieté, le soleil, après coucher. Je m'ennuie et j'adore les yeux noirs, elle est partie, je vais jamais la voir. Right.
I was impressed by what she liked about music and what she didn't care about it. And just took to each other like a duck takes to water.
Oh my God.
When I first came, I didn't know what to listen to, and he just said, hand me 2 Ari Lejeune records and said, take these home with you this time, and this is what Cajun music is, and which is really raw stuff, and I had to hear that, and I had learned a lot by listening to that.
A lot of people accuse me or just question, why are you playing with Michael Doucet? You know, why do you do this? You know, he's so, his fiddling, he gets just so wild with it.
At first, Mark could not connect to Mike's fiddle playing at all. I mean, as far as he was concerned, that was outer space, you know. And, but you know, he knew he was a brilliant fiddler, but he couldn't figure out sort of what was going on. So, you know, what happened with us was more, it was friendship first. And it was that we really had so much fun together. That was the number one thing.
He was taking these things that he was drawing from and taking a Cajun song and bring it up into the stratosphere. But because he had also studied with Dennis and Dewey and Kenner and all these people, he could bring it down to level 1.
Come on, Doucet! Come on, come on, come on, come on!
comment je vais faire.
What is so beautiful about the English language? I think French is a much nicer language than English. What is so great about the American way of life? I think the life that I live, the lifestyle that I live and my father lived and my grandpa lived, is much more beautiful. What's so great about modern day America that they would tear down this beautiful old Acadian house and replace this with a trailer or brick shoebox? What's so great about American food that they would want to give up all the wonderful Cajun recipes and replace that with hamburgers and hot dogs? I just don't understand that. And I don't want to understand that. I don't want to understand that at all.
I guess Mark and I do relate as the younger generation, even though Mark is really more of the traditional thing, but a transitional age, because a lot of people his age, I think they either became Americans, or Americana, or they accepted, or continued French, but very few were on that border like Mark that could understand the American sensibility, graduate, has a college education, and still came back to being what he was. I think that's very, very unique, and that's exactly what our culture needed.
I think we draw from the past because the past speaks to us in every part of our life. The way we eat, the way we dress, the way we see things. Just our whole vision is that way, and the music goes with it.
Well, Anne is a unique individual. She sees everything through an artist's sort of point of view. And I think her first impression of here was, you know, how romantic it could be. And I think coming down with Mark a couple times, you learn the reality. Sometimes it's not that romantic. I mean, it's romantic in a way if you can understand the grizzle around things. I mean, and I think that just attitude, she dug it from the beginning, from the get-go. I think she understood that how unique this place was, and it must have been, and sometimes I'm sure it still is. It's very hard because it's you know, to not have grown up here, to just you know, to grown up with these things, you kind of take them for granted or just understand them, but they don't really shock you. But for shock value, I think Louisiana can do you a number.
There's one thing that has bothered me about this area, and that is the insects in the summer and the heat of the summertime and the amazing amount of insects that are everywhere, and the way everything mildews, and, you know, bugs are in your closet, mice eating my clothes. My vintage clothes collection's been destroyed by the humidity and the bugs and stuff. And, that's my really biggest hate thing, is the heat of the summer. But I'm just a little Anglo girl, so.
The whole thing was you know, a woman in a Cajun band, and, you know, that's not the way it is. I mean, there was a lot of tips with that a long time in the 70s and the 80s, you know, and when Anne has you know, come way beyond that, in the fact that, I mean, I don't think she even sees herself as a woman in that role. I mean, she's just this vehicle again, you know, playing and singing these songs, and again, the fact that someone she really relates to is Clément Breau, who was not maybe the first woman, but the first woman to record Cajun music and being very popular with her husband, Joe Falcon.
In fact, when I'm playing, I think of Cleoma all the time. When I get tired, I'll just think of her. I'll think, she did this every night with no air conditioning, no microphones, nothing to, you know, keep her going. And if she could do it, I can do it. It's a hard job at times, a fun job, but a hard job. In rhythm guitar, you have to be strong because you know, it's a very driving thing. To me, I mean, I just as soon hear somebody playing two notes in Cajun music rhythmically, powerfully correct, than a million notes and have the wrong rhythm. I mean, the fancy part of it is by far the least interesting of any of it, to me, in my opinion. The rhythm is the magic of it, and it's real elusive.
Lâche pas la patate. Viens, Tommy. Oh, yeah, do it, Freddie. Do it, baby.
We had this friend, Gary Morrow. He's this was a superb rhythm guitar player, and he played just the way Mark liked the rhythm to be played. So we got Gary over, and we sat in the kitchen. He said, now, play like Gary. I want you to play just like this to back me up. And so it was great. I had to relearn my whole vision of music. The whole thing is nothing about how technically fancy you can play. You're not supposed to do that at all. You know, it's really just that perfect rhythm thing, and it's got to sustain a certain amount of time. And you've got to relax. If you're not relaxed, you can't do it right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks so much for having us.
The Savoy Douce Cajun Band.
Now you got it.
Savoir Douce, Cajun Band.
Everybody wanted to know what the songs were about because they liked the way it sounded. I was just going to put out a little book of the words of the songs. And the minute I started talking to people that were doing these songs, I just said, that's what I want to do. I mean, I just want to hear everything they have to say. And then when I saw the pictures, I'm an image person anyway. When I see images that get me, I would have done anything to put those images in a book. Yeah, but I think when people, you know, like the way we hear this as people today, most people looks like are looking for this kind of soulful element. They long to hear this sort of wild, primitive, soulful thing. And the early recordings had that, and the later ones didn't. The later ones were real snappy, peppy, go-lucky young boys in their white
but
pants.
I think Cajun music had to evolve. Otherwise, it would have been dead. If they would have all just sounded like Dennis McGee or early Leo Swallow,
Oh, yeah.
people in the 30s wouldn't
yeah.
have paid him any attention.
That couldn't have been, I know.
It would have been nothing but Bob Wills in here, you know, because that kind of thing just dies unless it evolves. And I think we're lucky to have some people who incorporated some of the elements like Ira Lejeune, you know. But I think Leo Swallow retained his essences in his later records. I mean, they were obviously recording for Eli Oberstein, who had his pocket full of money and car full of whiskey, as they always told me. They had a good time, you know. And I think
By tinkering with my little accordion, I had learned some fundamental principles about accordion repair, very fundamental, and very few fundamental principles. But even though, because of the fact that all these old guys around here were not repairmen themselves, the word quickly spread around the neighborhood, you know, that I could do some things like that. So before long, you know, eventually, I had a little accordion business going on my father's outdoor kitchen. And in the early 60s, while I was playing dances and these dances that I was getting fed up with and bored with, my father told me, he said, why don't you go build your little shop somewhere? He said, like on the land on the highway over there. And apparently that's what you want to do, you know, make accordions. So this stayed on my mind until I got so disgusted with playing music that I said, I think I'm going to take my father's advice. And so when he told me that he'd lend me some money, I started dreaming up of this building that I wanted to build, and that would manufacture accordions, and that would sell musical instruments. And I knew that the Cajuns liked Cajun music loud, so sell, you know, public address systems so that they could play big jobs and make themselves heard, and make a center where these people could come together, and it would be called a Cajun Center.
Mark's store was it. You'd go there. I mean, I'm sure every musician in one time has been in his store. You know, it's before the jams or any of that stuff. You just had to do that. Just check it out. Everybody was curious. Who is this young guy making accordions? You know, does he make them as good as the Monarchs, the Sterlings? So you go there and check it out.
Mais moi, je t'avais dit c'était le 26.
Mais s'il m'appelle pas le jour d'avant, c'est fini.
Je t'avais dit le 26.
Ah, ouais.
C'est toute ta faute à toi.
manqué la bain.
Ça va musique, ça, non?
Ouais, je peux l'imaginer.
la bain.
Rick Kaplan. What's happening in the big city of D.C.?
He's so gifted, and he says, you know, this is what we need to represent our culture. You know, we won't grow if we don't have the instruments to play on. So then he was totally devoted to making this super accordion, which he continues to do, and which he's showed over 35 makers how to do. I mean, he's given them any secrets there are, you know, he gives it to them freely. Well, for one thing, I'm a leader of Beausoleil. So you have a lot of things, you know, it's like I look at things a little different that way. With Beausoleil, I mean, we have that same identity of what we always wanted to do is show the different types of music that are here, you know, and to have a good time and to, you know, just to stretch out, and everybody's such a good musician to have everybody have their own little thing. And it's more of a dance band kind of thing.
Mais j'ai nouvelle de ma belle, est-il là-bas au Texas? J'ai passé par Younes, moi j'ai acheté à peine 5 sous. Quand j'arrivais à Basile, j'ai acheté un canne de sardines. C'est pour faire grand voyage, c'était là-bas au Texas. Quand j'arrivais à Lac Charles, j'ai mangé la moitié.
it's fun. It's just another thing like that. I mean, both slaves evolved so many ways, both through playing with Koto, then playing in France for so many years, and then coming back here and the playing, being probably the only Cajun group in Lafayette for so many years before there were any restaurants or any that kind of stuff, and just playing just for the fun of it. So that's the real stuff. I mean, that goes back a long way. And then when you jump over to Savoir Douce, it's just a simplistic thing. It's a respite for me because I'm not the leader anymore. You got two strong leaders. I can just be the fiddle player, which is great because then I don't have to worry about saying anything or I just can be a part of the thing and have a good time. If we lived closer to each other, our lives weren't so complicated. We'd probably play all the time and every week and just because we love it, just together, just for that. And you can't beat that. I think it just shows in the music.
Playing music is just something, it's a part of our life. It isn't it's not like to sell it at all. It's not the angle we take at all. And it has been an amazing way of meeting incredible people and traveling, and I hope it always will be in our life but it's never been done to get that. It's always been done because we love it.
I don't like to play music every day of the week. I don't like to play music when I don't feel like it. It's like I don't feel like cutting my grass every day, or I don't feel like working in my garden every day. I don't like I'm not a routine person in that sense that I want to play music every day. And if my income or if my livelihood had to depend upon music, I wouldn't be happy.
You have to let loose and just be who you are and have a party. I mean, that's what the music is about, is having a party. However, if it doesn't come out perfect, then it doesn't come out perfect. I mean, nobody's perfect. And I think you have to understand that too.
They both have the technical skill to go anywhere they want on their instruments. That's what playing technically good is ideas. So Mike obviously has some just unbelievable ideas he's playing through on his fiddle, and Mark does the same thing. I think he can carry the accordion where I've never heard anybody do it. Even though it might be in a more traditional vein than Mike, it's still, he's going places with his instrument technically, and he can just do it. He can do it.
When Mark and I play together, we've been playing together so long that we've done so many nice dances and old dances and long dances that there's a communication. Like after the first day, after we get together for a while that's just so tight. And it's the kind of thing that a fiddle player and his accordion player, or the accordion player and his fiddle player have to have. It's this some kind of intuition that you just know what the other person is going to be. Because when we're playing, we play different people's style. We might play Dennis's style or Angelos' style or Amadeus style or Ira's style, whatever. And you can go through all this history with somebody who knows the same thing that you know more on a different stuff, and you can create what these people have given us. If you witness that, it can either sound like two things. It can sound like just like Cajun music or chanky chank, or if you know something about it, you can hear all this stuff, and you just go, wow, what was that, you know? Because we can never do it again. We can never do it the same way again, and that's what's so beautiful. You just do it for the moment.
What do it now?
Well, it's fun sometimes to take off, you know, but I'm not going to do this. I don't want my reputation to be based upon those little excursions into left field. You know what I'm saying? I don't want my reputation to be based upon that. I want my reputation to be based upon the fact that we do play old-timey, traditional music without all the glitz and the glamour and the structured feeling of modern music.
De quoi c'est tu veux, c'est qui nous tuer du temps.
Come on, Michael.
Yeah!
Quit messing around. Quit messing around. Do it, Michael. Come on. Hey, Al. Come on, Al.
Yeah!
I personally think the things that make Cajun music popular are the things that keep it separate or keep it different or keep it apart from mainstream American music. And if you take this music and have the same attitude that the people on Nashville television or these rock concerts, if you have that same attitude and try to present it in the same way, well, then you're destroying the one thing that's almost like cutting Samson's hair. You know, you're destroying the one thing that makes this thing appealing to the rest of the world. Well, my hero, my musical hero is Amédée Hardouin. If you want to hear poetry in its true Cajun form, listen to what Amédée Hardouin has to say. That's poetry. As far as the style of singing, I hear that stuff, I just get goosebumps. That's, to me, he encompasses and captures everything. He's the epitome of Cajun music. A couple of years ago, I composed a song which I intended to be a tribute to Amédée Hardouin. And I entitled the song that I composed, the Amédée Two-Step, in honor of him, as a tribute to him. it's almost like a spiritual thing, you know. It's almost like a spiritual communication between the three of us, you know. There's this thing that's happening that we are part of, but yet we're not in control of it. You know, I'll hear Mike do some things that he's never done before. I'll do some things that, hey, what was that? You know, and it's far out, and it's a lot of fun.
You know when it happens. It doesn't happen all the time. That zone, you mean when it just clicks so perfectly that you can't even believe it, and it's not even you playing anymore. As Mark says, it's out of your control. It's not at all like verbal communication or any other kind of communication. It goes right into you through osmosis. It's a different experience, music. And I think that the way, when you're playing it, music has a life of its own. And so if you can just lock into this certain place and the music takes over. You know, you hear when it locks, you know, and sometimes it almost locks and it's really great. Like usually you can come across like it's really good, but when it locks, it's really magical.
When you're only three people, then no matter if you're three people here in Louisiana, three people playing together in England or Norway or in Boston or excuse me, California, it's still the same three people. So in other words, if you're playing in front of people who are unfamiliar to you, then you can look on my left side and see these two faces who I've known for so long. Then you can be back in their kitchen. And I think that's what's so good is that you can fall right into that place where you feel secure, you know, and you say, you know, we're doing the right thing, we're doing good, we feel good about it, and this is what we're doing, and we're just happy to play.
To order a copy of this program, call 1-800-522-1322.